So to kick this video off, I go in with my gold comb and I'm combing all of the hair with the grain. My client got this real soft, super curly hair, so I want to lift this pattern before I dig into it with my number 3 guard. My next step, I go in with a number 3 guard, completely closed with the grain, and I'm taking my time on most of my strokes just because this hair is super curly, and at times when you lift it and you see it feed through the guard, you think you're gonna nick this hair or whatever, you're gonna skim this hair the wrong way, so I'm gonna speed it up throughout my process because I actually cut this client a little slower, trying to ensure that I don't nick this hair. But other than that, I keep everything consistent. I'm always cutting, I'm always brushing one after I knock that hair down. You gotta keep everything consistent. You need to see where your loopholes is, and you need to make sure that all of that hair is laying down freshly after being cut and freshly after being brushed. Once making it all the way through the hair like this, because you can see some of his hair shifts backwards on this side, even though I'm cutting it towards his C-cup area. If you really look or pay attention, I know it's in fast motion, but every time I cut and brush that hair, you can see it's another hair, or you can see it's more hair in the layer that's shifting backwards. So you can't drag your clippers through it because that would be considered across or against the grain. I go in with my number 3 guard and I'm basically lifting this hair, creating my area for my taper, going in with my Babyliss FX Skeletals, and I'll create a rainbow shape, and I'll go ahead and create my first indentation into this taper. So I go in with my number 2 guard right here, open, and then sometimes I'm gonna adjust my lever just so I could create more room for me to fade. This hair super light, super straight, so you don't wanna jam yourself. Take your time and level down. I go in completely open with no guard on, and I give myself about 1/2 of an inch in that sideburn area because I know I'm gonna be able to blend this out real quick. And then from here, I'm gonna push my transition even higher. Always remember, man, play in between that lever system, stay consistent, and don't overplay your part. It's gonna come. Right here, I go on my 1/16, that's completely open, and then I'll go on my 1/16 black guard completely closed. I like my black guards because they dig, they lift that hair. So in that realm, that's how I'm able to get my transitions exactly how I want. Then I go in with a 1/8 guard, and as you guys can see, I'm using the hilt of my blade, but hitting it with the corner, just so I can make sure that I could get that nice rainbow shape and keep everything consistent throughout this taper. Like I said, it's straight hair, it's super curly, and you don't wanna jam yourself. I go back in with that number 2 after that 1/8, just so I could clean up that taper area. And then with a number 3 as well, and as you guys can see, the taper coming all the way together on this type of hair. And then I just drop down and do the same steps to the top of the beard that connects to the bottom of the side taper. And then once I do this, I'm gonna mimic the same thing on the opposite side. So as you guys can see, that flicking and that brush one and fade one always should be a big part of your secret. I go in, repeat the same steps. Gold FX's, number 3 guard, number 2 guard, 1/8 guard, then completely open and blend my way down from that. And as you guys can see, I'm on my 1/8 right now. I went 3, I went 2, I'm on a 1/8, and then I'm finna go completely open in my next clip. And as you guys can see, just keeping everything consistent and following your steps. This is how I found the system. Everything that I do to one side, I always do to the other side, and that's just been important to me. When I do things like that, it keeps me more in the consistent realm, especially with my fading, and especially with my tapering and my lineups and things of that nature. I just found my system that worked best for me. And as you guys can see, I pull an ear back, and then I'm just flicking in between that rim just so I could get this straight hair to lay down. I'm using a lot of the corner on my blades because this the hair that I said shifts backwards. Even though I was cutting it with the grain earlier, this hair really shifts backwards. So that's why I was taking my time, because you didn't want to hit this across the grain and nick this whole section off. So take your time, and I promise y'all, everything gonna come together. It's all a patient game when you dealing with, you know, a client hair texture that you don't normally cut. Now, some people would be like, well, it's an easy texture because it's waves. No, it's not. You put the average barber in his head, they're gonna destroy this boy hair. So I just keep everything super consistent with my 1/16 guard, brushing one, fading one at the same time, and staying consistent. Finna prep the back to do the same thing. So I go in with my number 3 guard just so I can lay my blueprint. You need a blueprint, you need a schematic, you need something to follow. And my system was following my number 3 guard and fading down. And every section of this head that I've been in. And that it was gonna keep you real consistent throughout your whole haircut. That people freeze sometimes, and not even freeze in a bad way. Sometimes people just overly play their part and stop following steps. And then that's when the fade start looking crazy because they jumped out of their norm. You gotta keep everything consistent, and this will come together for you. So I go in, I balled this area out. Then I go in with that number 2 guard just so I could debulk a little bit more, because that number 2 guard gonna keep you super safe. That number 2 guard is like one of the most safest guards when it comes to any wave, especially when you want to debulk a taper area. I go in completely open with my masters, and I'm finna just start to slowly but surely fade this out piece by piece. Consistency is key. 1/16 guard here, completely open, and slowly but surely debulking this area. And as you guys can see, the taper is coming together very well. I'm staying low, but I'm trying to create a nice transition and gradiency, seeing he got this real clean, straight, silky like hair. So you could tell he's gonna have a nice taper. He's gonna have a nice lineup. Everything is gonna be nice through and through on this haircut. 1/8 guard now, completely open, and I'm gonna down fade while using this 1/8 guard. And as you guys can see, everything is just coming together well. The hair trained, and the hair is trained because not only am I fading it, I'm brushing it after every stroke almost. That's super important. Do not comb or not brush in the middle of fading. That would be one of the easiest ways to jam yourself. And then always go back behind it with that number 2 guard with the long teeth and flick at these hairs. Get right. I go in using my spritz, and I'm starting to brush and bring everything forward, all because I know my boy got this super silky straight hair. Look at his hair when I brush it, and then I spray the spritz. Like, you see how everything lay, and everything lay proportionate, especially in the front, because the front of his lining is like ridiculous. So I had to go in and comb it just to see something real quick, to see how it was gonna treat me, how it was gonna shift. A lot of his hair shift in different areas, and it's super curly and coily in certain areas, but it's up to us to change that outcome. And y'all know how I do it on my channel. So I go in with my masters completely closed, and I'm just floating over the hair. I'm treating this hair like any other waver's haircut. I don't care if the hair is straight or not. And in cases like this, because the hair is so curly, you're gonna get a bunch of them like hikes or whatever that kind of stick up over the wave, and I'm just cleaning them right up. And as you guys can see, staying consistent and cleaning it up, but I got a hell of a lining to deal with. So I break into my back line, doing my verticals first, and I'm slowly but surely working my way up the back of the ear. And once I get to the top of the ear, I'll use the corner of my blade to make it all the way around the ear. I apologize for the last clip footage, but this one gonna be cleaner. As you guys can see, verticals convert to the corner of my blade, and then work my way all the way around the ear. And as you guys can see, this is coming out really, really, really clean. I'm liking this haircut. I love everything about it. I do the back of the beard line just so I could keep everything symmetrical and formatted to my liking. I always frame out, and then I go in and do more major surgery work when I actually break into my razor and things of that nature. But just keeping everything consistent. I plant in the middle just so I could get at my reference point and work my way all the way to the corner, because I cut this client plenty times. He got a lot of overhang. I know what I can do in situations like this. This is where I shine at. This is my thing. I like to create them lineups. I break into that vertical as well, just so I can see that 90 degree. Once I start to see that 90 degree on one side, it's impossible to fold, because I know exactly where my C cup is now, seeing where I started my taper. Everything is formatted for me. Everything go into itself. It cooperates with itself, and that's what I want. I don't want to put a taper on somebody's head. I want all my pieces to cooperate with each other, so at my ending result, the haircut is flawless. Always keep that in mind. That people neglect things like that. They neglect systems, and then at the end of it be trying to wonder why they end result don't look next to the haircut that they tried to mimic. It's because you had no system. It was no schematic. It was no blueprint to follow. Stay in a realm of keeping everything consistent and creating a system, and I promise you this thing will come out. I go in with my white barber magic pencil because my client is super light skinned. Now for cases like this, some people be like, why not use the tan one? Because the tan, he's lighter than the tan, so it will look yellow on his skin. You gotta go in and use the white for his skin. And another thing about my client don't use color at all. He keep everything natural, so even with the baby hair, I'm gonna make sure my boy is crispy as possible. This one of them things on the channel where you would love to get somebody color looking at the lightness of his hair in certain areas, but due to his request, no color at all, and I'm gonna have him just as crispy as if he had color, and that's what make it important to me. I like to show people all the time. People get in my comment section and talk about color this and color that, and I can't be mad at y'all about talking about color, cause of course y'all still gonna hate something that y'all don't believe in. But the fact that I sat down and I engineered my own cordless compressor, I got my own color no drip, I'm working on my pencils now, I'm in a different lane. I've been in a different lane from the beginning. Innovation is big to me, and if I gotta be the one to take that sacrifice, to take that bullet, y'all gotta hate on my channel in order for the whole industry to be able to comfortably use color, I'll take that, cause any sacrificial lamb is the goat of this. Any sacrificial lamb is the goat. It gotta be that one person that gotta take the bullets for everybody to make it comfortable, and that's my wave. I created this wave, and I'm gonna stand on that 10 toes no matter what, because people wasn't comfortable with using color or even playing with color until I brought that to the light. And that's how it's supposed to be. You create waves for people to ride them. Like, that's what happens. I'm just appreciative that 10 years later or 4 years later after starting my YouTube, I got my own products with my name on it, and I didn't just tell an engineer, yeah, I want this, or yeah, I want this. I literally designed everything of my own. So I appreciate anybody that's following and supporting the gang, supporting the team. I go in, stretching the skin, angling my razor at a 45-degree angle, bringing everything back to its highest point. When you're cutting somebody with natural and no color, don't dig into their lining. You need to make it as crispy as possible at the highest point of every hair on their face and on their head, because you want consistency. You want realism. That's a natural lining. When you can make the lining as crispy as possible on the furthest hair, you don't have to dig into the hair. That's a problem right there. That's when you know you advanced. That's when you know you own to something, when you ain't gotta dig in the hairs to make a lineup super clean. As I told y'all and stated before, we watch people destroy lineups on YouTube all day. It's millions of barbers on YouTube, and I'm not here to diss or say anything bad about nobody, but you don't have to dig into somebody's hairline to get your point across. And that's the difference between me and everybody. I told y'all, when I'm doing these lineups, I'm treating them like mathematics. I always look for that common denominator. Whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top, and in reference of a lineup, whatever you do to one side, you do to the other side, and that's how you keep everything symmetrical. Same thing with the taper, same thing with the fade. It always been with the liner. Always stretch that skin, angle that razor at a 45-degree angle, slightly but surely bring everything back to the highest nearest line, just so you can keep everything natural and crispy. Like when his lining, in a week or two, his lining still gonna look good because I didn't dig into anything. I kept everything on the furthest hair away from his face and brought everything forward. That's the difference, man. That's the difference. And always hit your lining more than once, because if you only hit it one time, it's not true at all. This is literally the art of the lineup on my channel. I'm teaching you the way. So in an imperfect world, we do get these clients that come in 3 months after the COVID who hella crazy, but it's up to us to change that outcome. And on my channel, y'all know how we give it up. Let's lock in. Hashtag TBT in that comment section. Hashtag Glacier Gang. It's 2020, it's year to shapeshifters. We in that duffel again this year. With or without color, I will stand up in everybody's chest in this industry. I will always prove to y'all that systems and schematics and influence work no matter what. So without further ado, if you was able to kick it with me in this 14 to 15 minute video, please like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to get alerted, because I got so many bangers that's lined up in that chamber right now. Understand and know it's finna get ugly this week.